Cool. All right, you guys. I'm super excited today. Blaze over here at the Blue Chip Athletic Club podcast, and we have Maddie Leek on coming to us from BC. I'm super stoked to do this kind of chat with her. We met in Arizona through a mutual friend, and I was like, "Oh, I like this girl's energy. I like the things that she's doing and putting out." And we'll kind of get into it. But real quick, if you just want to introduce yourself, give us a little bit of like an origin story, a little bit about you, and then we'll kind of get into the discussion today.
Yeah, I love that. So, yeah, I'm from British Columbia, Canada, specifically Kelowna. So, this is my hometown. But yeah, I've been in fitness, personal training, fitness coaching, online coaching, nutrition coaching for 5 years now. So, before that, I had a background in martial arts, Taekwondo. I got my black belt in that. Had a lot of experience
That
in
means she'll
soccer.
kick your
Track and field.
ass.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. I don't know if I still got it, but yeah. So lots of experience with martial arts growing up. Definitely, what made me and got me into the industry and working in fitness because I loved it so much. But yeah, pretty much for the last 5 years, just been personal training, online fitness coaching. I work for myself and I absolutely love it. But yeah, right now I'm currently training for a half marathon and I just did one back in the spring. So I'm definitely in my kind of hybrid training era, doing lots of running and strength training right now. So it's been a lot of fun.
Dude, I was gonna like kick this off by being like, you are one of the few hybrid training female athletes that I know, and I was totally gonna start picking your brain about all that. So talk
Yep,
to us about
do
that.
it.
How has that journey been? Like, how is it being somebody who's dedicated and into the running craft and then going back in and picking up heavy stuff? Because I will say, Maddie is strong as hell, dude. Like, she's got it going on. Talk to us a little
Yeah.
bit about how that's kind of been and the journey to kind of finding yourself there.
Yeah, I actually love it. I think it's funny how it's kind of becoming a fad. I almost think it's not a fad. I think it's just people realizing that like we like it both. Like people realize fitness is long term, right? We're going to be doing this forever. We should, right? But it's going to have its seasons of life where you're bored with a certain style of training, right? So for me, it was awesome that hybrid picked up because at the time I was like, I'm kind of sick of the bodybuilding style that I was doing. And so it's nice to go back to my cardio, background, which was martial arts and running and soccer. So it was awesome to be able to kind of go back to my roots while also still challenging myself. So I love it. Hybrid training is just that awesome mix of, running, cardio, meeting, strength training, and just kind of bringing them together. But I think it's what honestly most people should because it's challenging your cardiovascular, right? Slow twitch, fast twitch muscle fibers, which we all need to challenge both, right? And then, yeah, obviously just strength training, which everyone should do, no matter your goals. So I definitely love the mix. I think it's awesome to see more people take it on. But yeah, oh gosh, I could go on forever with it. It's just, yeah, it's an exciting thing. All the different styles, like your workouts, just, man, the ideas, the way you can just set them up, it's just, they get so much better and they're a lot more enjoyable and fun and interesting because you can just have this other element of running in it. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
what is
really
your
like it.
typical split? Are you doing like 3 or 4 days a week strength training and running, or is it kind of vice
Yeah.
versa? How is it kind of working out for you?
So yeah, I definitely started this strong in January leading up to the half marathon and it was no, actually I was already strong with strength training. So for me it was 4 to 5 days of strength training and it would be 3 leg days, 2 upper body days. And then my runs, I started with 1 a week, then 2 a week, then 3 a week, gradually, progressively overloading based off just how you're feeling, right? Muscle soreness. Um, but yeah, so now currently I'm at 5 strength days still, and my runs are 2 right now, just where I'm at with my half marathon and the date out from that. So yeah, it's really good. I love it. I think my leg days, to me, my strength days help my running more than I feel like my running helps my running. You know what I mean? Like I feel like more people need to prioritize strengthening those muscles, your mobility, right? Muscle recovery, the stretches, right? Running definitely helps, but that's where I like hybrid because it's showing the runners who never did it before, like, okay, this does make me stronger, prevent injuries, make me go faster. So, yeah.
Yeah, what I'm curious too, like what's the goal at the half marathons? Are you just like, hey, I want to finish? Are you trying to like hit a specific time throughout the two that you
Speed.
did? Yeah, what's the
Yeah,
goal?
definitely speed. I got addicted. So my first half marathon I did back in May in Vancouver. I didn't really know what my time would be. So when I put in, like, they ask you what gait or group you want to start with, I just said, like, okay, I think I'll end in 2 hours and 15 minutes. Well, turns out that put me with, like, essentially like the beginners, a lot of the walkers, which is great. Like, a lot of people go do half marathons for just to do it, right? So my when I like first started the gate, I was trying to pass so many people that, like, I was spending a lot of time like going off track and like slowing down and then speeding up just to get around groups that I got 1:56. So I got the half marathon done in a 1 hour and 56 minutes, but looking back, I probably could have done it in like 1:46. So for me, I want to beat the time because I know I definitely don't need to start in that group. But then I think I can even more so get it even faster. So that's my goal, is just speed. I don't think I'll ever do a full marathon because the training that takes, I don't have the time to give to that. But half marathon, I'd rather just speed it up and challenge myself that way. And then it fits with my lifestyle and the amount of time I can give to that kind of training. But definitely speed.
Yeah, I know that there's some people out there that may or may not end up listening to this that are like, I just want to finish, finish the half marathon or start getting into running or even training, like strength training. And I'm curious, like, if you're somebody who has never ran and you decide like, hey, I need to start taking my health seriously and I want to train for this half marathon, and they like put it out
Mhm.
there and they're like, hey, I want to run, I don't know, half marathon 6 months away. Like, what would you give them advice wise of being like, hey, this is how you should kind of start, especially if they're, coming off not really training a bunch? Like, what are some like tips that you would give somebody, even if it's just one or two?
Start slow. Start slow. I've coached a lot of clients actually in the last 6 months for running events, whether it's an 8K, 15, or half marathon. And it's more often than not, as a coach, I'm telling people slow down. Like, you went too much, too fast. Like, because then we hear they're like, oh, I'm so sore the next day and now I can't run for a week. And it's definitely go slow. Less is better than more, especially if you're new to it. You want to spend a lot of time just progressively overloading from a good baseline, right? Listening to your body, really working on muscle recovery is a big thing that I think people overlook. As we hear most of the time, runners, right? It's knee pain, ankle pain, shin splints. So realize that, right? There's injuries with it. So go into it being mindful of that and already getting ahead of it, already getting into a good mobility routine, prioritizing those stretches more than you are prioritizing how long you're going for, right? I think we care so much about, did I do the 5K? It's like, did you stretch after? And then they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, like, let's focus on that, please. Like, yeah. So definitely for me, start slow, right? Start slow, work with a coach. Most people really should. The Nike apps and the running apps out there, I joined when I first started back in January to see what they would suggest. And they just tell you what to do for the training, but I didn't see much on mobility or recovery or when to stop. And that's definitely when, you need a coach to understand, like, is this right for my body and what I'm feeling? So yeah, that would be my recommendation. Professional help, go slow, and prioritize that recovery first.
Yeah, totally. I think that's great. I'm not sure if you're somebody that prescribes or takes that prescription as well, but I've got like 12 coaches for almost like everything in life. Like, I can't get enough of like somebody telling me like, hey, this is the direction you're headed, and do you want to go this direction or do you want to pivot? And this is where we see you like successful. These are the things you're good at. These are the things that you can improve on. So I can definitely
Totally.
understand that from a business perspective, from a training and athlete perspective. I think that you kind of don't recognize your full potential. Sometimes you can end up like wandering way off course if you don't have a coach that's there to kind of help bring you back
Totally.
in and cage you. And yeah, totally interested to hear your thoughts in that realm, because I know you're a coach as well. Are you somebody that prescribes to having a coach too?
Oh my gosh, yeah, definitely. Like, we both, yeah, we've had business coaches. I've had my own coaches. Last time I had a fitness coach was a year ago, and that was for just growing my glutes and just working on some more, muscle growth and stuff. But yes, I always advocate for that. Even just like mindset coaches, right? Like, they're huge. They're huge. And I think most people, all of us need that. So definitely I'm big for that, telling people like, hey, go see a physio even, or go check this person out. Like, we always need help. I think that's what I always need to tell myself, is just constantly be a student, right? Like, still be a student, still ask for help. If you don't know, go learn, right? There's professionals for everything.
Totally. And I'm real dumb, so I got to make sure I ask for a ton of help. So I'm with you there
Yeah,
too.
totally.
Talk to me a bit. Like, I want to hear about a little more about, the training draw, the martial arts thing sounds like a really, really cool base, and we actually have that in common. I was like
Mm-hmm.
one step from my black belt, so you outdid me in Taekwondo there too. But
Sorry.
I was like 11 years old, and I was doing it for I don't know, probably like 5 or 6 years, like really, really aggressively. And then I like just was like, this isn't for me anymore. And I got kind of like I loved the training part, but I didn't think that the gym that I trained, or the dojo, that I forget the technical term too, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but where I was
No.
training, it was not it didn't feel like a team, and I really like valued that as somebody who's come
Yeah.
from like ball sports, and like, I played lacrosse in college, and I played like football and baseball and soccer and volleyball, all
Mhm.
these things, and I didn't feel like I had that connection to my team. Was your experience any different? Like, what kept you with it until you became a black belt? Because it takes a long time sticking with a sport to be able to be a master of that craft. So I'd love to hear about it.
That's wicked that you did. I love that. More people need to. So, yeah, for me, it's actually funny. I did it the same age. My parents put all three of them, like my sisters in. So, me and my two older sisters all started at the same time. And they kind of had your vibe, where they just at one point, 2 years in, they didn't like it. And so my parents were like, okay, do you guys all want to quit? And they both were like, yeah. And I at a young age was always like a silent competitor. I just like immediately when my sisters didn't do something, I just had a young age was like, I'm going to stick with this. I'm gonna see this through because you guys didn't. So it
Are
that's
you
my
the
drive.
oldest, middle, or youngest? Now I need they
I
like
was young.
yeah, that's why you need to always beat your older
Yeah,
sibling. I'm the
yes.
youngest too. Yeah, yeah, I get it.
And it worked out. And then so what's funny is I stayed with it. And then they didn't like that. And then they came back in like 6 months later and they were always like a belt behind me. And that just like definitely gave me this like ego or whatever motivation, but it worked out. And it totally started this drive of just like not being better than them, but just realizing like, hey, it feels good to kind of just like see something through. And like, yeah, I got really addicted at that point to it. So yeah, that's what kind of drove me through it to the end, was just wanting to see it through because my sisters didn't. But then, they definitely followed back and did it. And then, yeah, honestly, I think I was just like addicted to the community. Like how you said you didn't have it. We had a very strong community. My instructor, Trevor Workington, I actually ran into him like 4 years ago, which was awesome to see him again. But he still to this day is someone I think back on. His kindness, his passion, his how he would make you feel as a coach. I just like I'll never forget it. And so that was huge. It was the amazing instructors that I had and the community and the vibes they put out for sure. And definitely when I moved away, I went to a different gym and it was hard, but I pushed through and saw it through. But only because it was a gym that was like tied back to the one with Trevor Workington. It was still in a way like my tester, I think. So when I had to do my belt test, it was still with him. I just like trained with someone else at a different town, but yeah, I can relate a bit. It's hard when you don't have that same community, and it definitely is what pushes you. And I think we see that with gyms, especially why people love kind of like having gym buddies or a coach or a team, because it's more motivating. The drive is behind, the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah, it's motivating, and it's something to kind of keep you focused too, right? Like I totally feel that. I'm curious, like along that way, whether it was in your taekwondo or your like post fitness journey, whether that was bodybuilding or running, have you sustained any like big injuries that you've been working through? Because I definitely have recently had a couple of them, and I'm curious how it's kind of affected you, and if you've had any that have set you back a little bit.
It's so wild, but I'm very blessed. I have not had major injuries my whole career
Better start
besides
knocking,
a little bit
dude.
of, I know I did get some tennis elbow, which I saw you did too. but I don't really stress about things like that. I broke my pinky toe from like kicking a barbell, wearing no shoes in a gym. Like I just was like, I deserved that. But for me, it's like I see them as like an awesome challenge. Like obviously that created muscle imbalances in my body. Obviously the tennis elbow, has its moments. I do have a bit of a popped rib situation, like it pops in and out. So that I'm dealing with an osteo for. But all of these things, like for me, I wouldn't call a major injury. Maybe I should, but yeah, I feel very lucky. More people, have way worse. So that's why I think I just don't call it that. But no, I can't really speak on it. I'm very lucky. Yeah. I just always, listen to my body. I'm very big on listening to my body, and maybe that's why I'm lucky. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious, like
But tell me
how
about
did
your tennis up.
how have you built that body awareness? Like what's the key that you think you've had in growing up and throughout your kind of life and training and health that you've been able to build that up? Because I know a lot of people struggle. They're like, here's a great example today. I went into PT for my tennis elbow that I'm dealing with, right? The intake form has like, hey, what type of pain are you experiencing? And it's like aching, shooting, tingles,
Mm,
sharpness, like all these kind of adjectives that a lot of people, like myself included, sometimes I'm like, is it aching? Is it sharp?
yeah.
Is it all of them? Is it, what type of pain is this? Is this discomfort? Is this pain? Can I train around
Mm,
this? Like these are all questions
yeah.
that I think people ask and they don't truly have the awareness quite yet, or they haven't like worked on the skill and the practice. So how have you been able to do that, listening to your body to be able to kind of push through those we'll call like small aches and pains to help you still kind of one, get the mental win of your training, and then
Totally.
two, be able to still see the results that you're kind of looking to have.
So that's a great question. I would definitely say a lot of it's like trust, building trust with yourself. But I think that comes from working with coaches, working with, a coach that's like, I just remember when I was boxing once, and it's just the pain of the situation of like just training. And they're like, how badly is it? Are you going to puke? No. Okay. Then you can keep going. Like, this is something that you can push through. So I think it's working with professionals, honestly, that teach you the boundaries, show you like, no, you can actually go here. Like, totally, you're scared. Fear will, keep you back here, but no, you have it in you. The potential's there. Like, what you're feeling isn't that. So, I would say coaches for sure. Just having those questions, telling them what you're feeling. And then over time, you're memorizing. You're like, okay, so this is fine. I can push past this. This isn't, it's seeing white spots that's when we stop. So for me, it's building that trust, working with teachers. I mean, I can even think back to like PE teachers in high school. Like they would, tell you when to stop or when not to. So definitely professionals, right? And building that trust with your body with them.
Yeah, I think too, like you hit on a couple of things also that we talked a little bit about before, like mindset coaches, right? Like your
Mhm.
brain and mind typically fail before your body does, like
Totally.
when you start convincing yourself of one thing, whether you can or you cannot, like either way, you're right, like you
Mhm.
can have this like false perception of the thing you're going through, and you can focus all of your attention on the agony of holding a, plank or doing another
Totally.
push up or whatever, or you can focus your attention on something else and start changing that internal dialogue, and you can start to see your performance just take off. Like it's amazing
Totally.
how much the self-talk like can really drive that. And another thing too that you kind of hit on earlier is like your intuition. Like your intuition as a person, like you know when you're dogging it, you know like when you have more to give. And the only person that's ever probably truly going to know is you. Like if you walk out of a training session and you gave it your best effort, maybe you're not lifting the heaviest weights or running the fastest on the track, but you're still giving your 100% for that day and that given time, you'll know. And then if you're giving like 80 or 60 or 70%, like, and you're not doing that intentionally, then you also know. And then to me, I think that like that diversion when you like say like, oh, I'm going to go hard today, and then you don't, and you don't do that thing, and it like brings you further away from like what you think is difficult, and then also
Totally.
like where your limits truly lie. Like you start to kind of put more
Mhm.
and more boundaries on yourself, and you start to lock yourself into, hey, I'm only somebody who can do 30 push-ups in a row. And it's like, why? Well, you always stop at 30 because you're only trying to get 30 and you don't remove your limitation
Right?
or whatever happens. So yeah, you point to a
Exactly.
bunch of really good stuff there too.
It's like even with DOMs, I remember like, do you remember the first time you were crazy sore after a week of workouts? And like, I remember I had a coach who was like, yeah, like that's normal, that's good, but like most of the time, like there's just, if you properly follow an upper lower split, like you can just train the next muscle group and like work past it. Whereas, dealing with beginner clients, they're like, oh, I can't work out today, I'm too sore. And it's like, well, tell me how you're feeling. And they're like, oh, it's just here. I'm like, well, then we could do the upper body workout. Like your upper body doesn't sound sore. Like and then they're like, oh, right, that makes sense. So it's like also realizing like we tell ourselves a story. We think that soreness means don't train when realistically we know blood is healing and blood helps with muscle recovery. Movement is actually now really good for that. So we actually should move. So it's right, goes back to just working with those professionals to have those questions answered. And you're like, okay, now I know.
Yeah, movement's
Yeah.
medicine, right? I kind of just thought of an analogy, and it comes down, ironically enough, from my tattoo artist. It was like really something that I learned, and he was like, he was doing my arm sleeve, and he's like, the way that he does it is he tattoos like a surface at a time. So he's like, hey, he's gonna do like, here, and then he's gonna go here, and then he's gonna go here, and it's like the way that he does that is he's like botching the spots where it's like I'm gonna continue and work on this project, which is very similar to bodybuilding, right? You're gonna work this muscle till fatigue. You're going to do this
Yep.
split and do these things. And then when that one's super sore or you're tired, you're going to then
Yeah.
shift over and pivot to another spot. Because I'm
That's
telling you,
it.
if homie was drilling on my elbow for like 3 days in a row, I'd be like, bro, this ain't it. Like, let's do it one day and let's get it done. And then we'll move on to the next one. So I think it's a really
Love.
good analogy for anybody. Like, you're a tattoo artist, man. You gotta pick your battles. You gotta pick your spots. And then you also have to give your body time to heal, or else you're just going to start doing more damage to that tissue, and you're not going to get the best bang for your buck, aka getting infected or something like that.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that.
Cool. So why BC? What's the draw for you to stay there now? I mean, you're like a full-fledged adult and it's really cold there. Like, are you a big skier or what? Let's get out of the fitness stuff for a second. I want to hear a little bit more about
I
Canada.
love that. I know, to be honest, after going, so like, yeah, me and Blaze know each other pretty much through PTBI. And right, you're still with that crew in a way. So yeah, when I did the San Diego retreat with PTBI 2 years ago, it exposed me to the States and to networking in the States. And I love it. I would live in the States if I could. I think for me, the issue is that I can only be there for 6 months at a time. And I'm just so big on routine and just the price of the cost of living in the States because the US dollar is obviously more. So I think I realized like if I were to get like a 2K apartment rental in US, like to me, that's like almost $3,000 Canadian, right? So it's so much more for me to live down there that's honestly the holdback. If not, I would. I love the States. I love it.
Yeah,
It's my business.
but you have to be a skier up there in BC. You have to.
Yeah, I do the snowboarding, I do snowshoeing, but for me, like, I think we're getting a lot more like the place where I live, Kelowna, it's very active. I live in a very active city, which is great. I love that. But our ski hill is very busy, very popular because we're in the active place. So I personally find that I'm just not much into that anymore. I grew up skiing, so I've had so many memories around, the Okanagan and all the ski resorts, Revelstoke, Vernon, that like I've kind of had my time with it, that I'm like moved on. Like I want to surf, I want to go explore the States and like hike and stuff. And, even seeing your and Chelsea's videos of when you guys were in the Grand Canyon and stuff, like I just love that. Like I want to experience more life down there, I think. I just like to try it all kind of person. So I definitely can tap out from things. And yeah, that's not important to me as the snow. It's too cold for me. I want to be in California personally. I
Every
do. I do.
everybody wants to live in San Diego. That's why it's like 5 Gs for an apartment down there.
Legit. But
Um,
where are you exactly in California? You're,
so I'm up in Sacramento.
yes.
So up closer to like wine country. It's about, for us, we're basically right between Lake Tahoe and the Bay Area, San Francisco. So basically, if you drew a line
Cool.
right between, we're
Yeah.
about right in the middle. It's great here. It's nice. I will say that I think it's gonna get up, and I can't see the weather app on my computer right now. I think it's gonna be like 112 today. So it's one of those things where it can get super, super hot. Almost oven.
Nice.
It's like an oven, dude. You like walk outside
Yep.
and you're like, Like takes it out of you, you know?
Uh, I can't even complain right now. I mean, I speak in different, but it's 37 here, which is super hot for us. So we're in a heat wave right now, and people aren't doing so well with it. We're
Yeah,
not used to
what
it.
I think it's like 50 degrees Celsius or is about what it is down here.
Yeah, is that what it
I
is?
think so. I'll have to
Maybe,
Google
yeah,
that.
that
Someone's gonna
makes
have
sense.
to fact check us later.
Yeah.
Dude, I want to know like, so you've been in coaching for 5 years. You've been an athlete for a super long time.
Mhm.
You've
Yes.
got clients that you're working with online. I know you do in-person coaching as well. You're kind of like bouncing around all these different things, which is so great. I want to
Mhm.
hear like either your personal, actually, we'll do both. I want to hear your biggest personal challenge when it comes to like health. And then I
Mhm.
want to hear like a client, like biggest challenge that you hear people have, and then ways that you've kind of addressed that moving forward to help people kind of leave with something whenever they listen to this. And I'm really interested to hear what you have to say.
I love that. So personal health issue.
Maybe not an
Is
issue,
that
maybe just more of a challenge that you've had, like something that you've had to overcome or something that you're continually battling with to help
Mhm.
kind of like push you to where you want to be, whether that's, it can be like a mental piece,
I love that.
it can be
Mhm.
something food related. I know there's a lot of people that struggle with like, food related, anxiety
I
or,
like that.
um, illness, even like whatever it could be. I'm curious to hear what yours is. And then I have no issue sharing mine too.
Okay, sweet. No, I'm stoked. That's a good one. So first one that came to mind was stress. Definitely for me, like stress, we all know it impacts health. So for me, with my goals, my running, I'm trying to eat more, right? Carbs are my best friend with the half marathon. So for me, when I'm stressed, I struggle with appetite. I have appetite loss. So it's been a really interesting game being, pushing my coaching. I love it. I'm so passionate about it. I want to help more people, right? The more we do that, the more we're working, the more not really maybe giving the time to eat. We're stressing more. So for me, it's been a couple years of definitely realizing like, and lots of entrepreneurs will say this, right? We do the whole go a whole day without eating because we're prioritizing work and hustle culture, which is great, but it's not great if your hormones and your stress is all over the place. So that would be my personal one is the stress game and managing it and meditation and breath work and all the things they say, it's great, but like in the moment, what do you go to? What do you do? Do we do it? Do we do the small things that work? So, right, we forget. We're so busy. I know I'm stressed and I just keep going on my day about it. So I think it's really funny when you know what you're doing is wrong. You're your own coach and you coach these other people and tell them what to do for their stress. So
Do as I
definitely in
say,
the
not
last
as I do, right? Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So it's like a lot of that for me. I'm like, no, we're working on that, going back to that. And holy crap, has it helped? Just, yeah, my appetite pick up and just brain fog, right? Mental clarity, all that good stuff. Energy improve, sleep improve, not waking up with anxiety. So that's kind of the thing I work on is just daily stress management because there's good stress, right? Like there's good stress, it's good. So it's learning how to just manage it and yeah, it's kind of it's a fun journey actually if you think about it because it's something that you're always going to deal with. So it's realizing it's just working on this thing that's always going to be bugging you, but what can you do to kind of reduce it slowly over time or just, recover from it quicker is how I see it.
Yeah, I heard this really unique analogy when it comes to like stress and other things that are coming into like a life event. And it was like they said, basically imagine that this stressful event is like a little kid like walking next to you trying to get your attention. And it's
Mm,
like they're like pulling on like your pocket and they're just like, hey, like pay attention to me.
yep.
And then like you can give them that like little bit of attention, but then like you also need to be making sure that you're walking and looking where you're going.
I
Because
love
like
that.
without both things, like you're like
Yeah.
totally like ignoring the kid, which is not good. And then or you're also walking into the middle of the street or walking off a cliff. So it's like
Mhm.
giving it a little bit of attention, but then also being able to kind of take steps in the right direction too, so that you are continually making that progress. What about a client for you?
Sorry, what about a client for
Yeah,
me?
what about client challenges that you've seen or had to help overcome or something like that? That's
Mhm.
that's a regular one that you kind of work with.
Ooh, I think my favorite is mindset and self-talk. I come from a really good and fortunate childhood parenting experience where my parents just were kind of if I said I don't like my stomach, they're like, go to the mirror and tell yourself you love your stomach. Like, I was very blessed to have that as a dad. So I'm very passionate when I have my clients and I hear them say mean things about themselves. That is the first part. I'm like, I don't even care if you did the workouts this week. Like, let's just talk about that, because that's the foundation for growth and healing and transforming is mindset and what you're telling yourself, right? And we all know that what you're telling yourself becomes your actions and that's your reality. So make sure it's a good thing so we can create a good reality. So for me, it's solving the problem of negative mindsets, negative self-talk, and where's it coming from? Were you raised to hear these things, which is very normal. So, let's create new habits. Let's get new things, positive affirmations constantly flooding you. So I'm big on that. And my clients know that. And we work a lot on, mirror talk, journaling. Um, Gosh, what else? I like to do I'll get my clients to have their mirror, and it's not just mirror talk, but I'll get them to get one of those dry eraser markers and then write on like I am statements, and I'll give them the exact examples that I want them to write based off what I've heard from them. So we do lots of that, and I love it because we really transform with it, and that's when things start to pick up with then the workouts and the macros and the consistency and the compliancy, because right, strong mindsets lead to strong habits.
Yeah, that's so great. I actually maybe I'll start pulling some of those techniques that you have there too, because
Yeah.
that they're awesome. I've said a
Yeah.
couple of times to people that we work with, it's like I could give you Michael Jordan's training program, but if you're not Michael Jordan, it's not going to matter, right? Like
Totally.
you're not gonna go to the gym every single day for 3 hours
Hmm.
and shoot hoops and then go weightlift and then do whatever, because after a week of that, you're going to be like, this is awful and this is not what I want. And it's not like in alignment with the type of person that you are. And you haven't formed that kind of killer mindset even, it doesn't even have to be a killer mindset. It just has to be like the one that you like respect and want to continue forward and
Hmm.
isn't on the path that you're headed. You don't have to be a professional athlete to have that. And I think that a lot of people kind of could see and understand and be like, hey, grab me a dry erase marker and write I am powerful or I am, strong or capable or, whatever they decide. And it can be super, super cool. So yeah, I dig that. I dig that a ton.
Yeah, it's sick. I mean, it's even like, oh, we often hear like, I hate going to the gym. I'm too tired. I hate tracking. Well, coach, I hate cooking though. And I love it because I'm like, I said those same things too. And it's so funny because now I love it. I love cooking, right? But it never was like that for me. But I realized at a young age, like, okay, if I'm saying this, I'm affirming this. So how can we fake it till we make it type thing? So I even say to people, like, maybe you don't believe what we're saying, but like your body's hearing it, and trust me, like it feels better. Like saying, okay, I love myself. My body looks good. Like that just kind of has a better vibe than saying like I hate myself. Right? So it's just kind of, taking that into account too, that it's just the vibe you're creating when you're saying those things is just a whole other level to it. Like you feel like shit when you walk away from that.
Totally.
So yeah, it's telling yourself you love the thing you hate, even if you don't. And it's so funny because my clients will do that and they're like, okay, I'll go write this on my mirror. I love tracking or I love working out. And then weeks later, I just find we're not dealing with that problem anymore. Like they don't say that anymore.
Yeah,
So it is.
it's super interesting. And I'm actually doing I did like a third of it before pivoting a little bit to a different certification course. But I'm doing a stress, sleep, and recovery course right now, like an online one,
Cool.
for a certification. And it's really interesting. Like the things that you're saying are like backed by like real science and data, right? Like they're like, hey, if you're saying things like I hate myself or I don't like the way I look in the mirror or whatever, it produces the same stress response as somebody who's getting chased by a bear. And that's because like
Yes.
those things are like primal. Like you can't change the
Mhm.
instinct of the human being from survival mode here to like now what we're at. So like when you do that and you say those things, what you're actually doing is you're fighting your metabolism, you're slowing processes down, you're causing more stress and anxiety, you're losing sleep, you're missing out on recovery. Like all these things are just linked together. And it's amazing. People are like, why? I'm hiring a coach so that they can like program or make a workout for me. And it's like, no, no, no. Like this thing is more than that. And if you don't see it as more than that, then you're probably looking in the wrong direction, and you're probably looking at the wrong coach who's not able to truly help you in the long term. So at the end of the day, like
Totally.
you want people to be able to do it on their own and live and have this be like their lifestyle forever, and not just like do it for 6 months, lose 20 pounds, be like, oh yeah, I'm done now. Because you have to sell fitness for their life. It's not something that you can like stop, because that's when you end up in the what is the movie? Oh, I can't think of it now. Um, Wally. It's like everybody's gonna be like Wally in there
Oh,
in the chairs, like you can't be letting that go
yeah.
down either.
No. But yeah, and I just feel like it makes life better. Like just when you speak positive, like people appreciate it too. People want to be around you more. Like if you talk negatively, like it's a very hard thing to be around constantly. So it's better just for you, for everyone. And yeah, people are listening, right? So if you have kids, like that's something where I just constantly look back to my parents and how they raised me. And I'm just so fortunate that, my mom didn't speak poorly about herself in front of me. And like I really think that made a difference, right? So yeah, people are listening. They hear what you're saying, and we will feed off that. And so even friends, right? So it makes a big difference. But mindset's for sure the big thing that I love to transform and work on the most with my clients.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the best. It's the most fulfilling piece, right? Like when somebody kind of learns and can grow that way. The
Yeah.
scale and everything else will move, whether you want it to go up or down. But when the mindset moves and you're working like internal to external, all the rest of those things kind of start to happen, and they happen way quicker too. So
Totally.
yeah.
And I will always say it's a long process. Like for anyone listening, like even today I still have negative self-talk. Like it's not like I'm great and now it's only positive. Like it still happens. It will always happen. I think as animals, I was at a talk in Whistler years ago, and the speaker said like we wake up automatically looking for things that could kill us. Animals do that, right? Obviously, as we've, grown on and whatever, it's turned into what's just going to mess up your day, what's going to get in the way of you being happy, work, right? Working out, like all those things. Oh, having to go cook later. So that we stress ourselves out. We wake up in the morning looking for the things that are bad. So just being mindful of that, right? And just knowing that like that's normal. Okay, but what can I do to offset it? What can I do to then, wham back with positive affirmations? So for me, it's like I'll allow myself to be like, gotta go to work, but then it's like, nah, I get to go to work. I get to go to work. That's amazing. I get to go help people. So that's how like my kind of talk goes with myself. Like it still happens, but we just, you immediately flip it. And that's what I always want people to know is it's gonna happen. Just it's the practice of flipping it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's something that a lot of coaches do a poor job of. And it's like creating this gap between like us versus them. And I mean, them being
Mm-hmm.
like clients and us being coaches, right? It's like, no, 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 we are the same. We're like one and the same. Like, I still wake up sometimes not motivated to train. I still wake up not like wanting to, saying negative things about myself. I still wake up and do all those things. But it's just like, what you have done and the foundation and habits that you've built that you're going to lean into, and not to mention the self-talk, the other pieces of the mindset where you're like, no, 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 like I can do this, I do have agency. And the other thing is like taking full responsibility, I feel like is also so powerful. Like if you're like, yep,
Totally.
that is 100% my fault, I have full agency, I have full control over the things that happen in my life, so that you're like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I can go train. But today maybe I'm like really, really sore and my day is hectic, so I'm choosing not to. And I'm choosing to do this other
Totally.
thing. And then the
Yep.
next day you're like, I'm not gonna choose to skip it twice. So
Yeah.
the difference I think between somebody who's been doing it at the game along longer, or has just figured some internal pieces and mechanisms out,
Totally.
is that they're not allowing it to drift way off course. And you're not taking 2, 3, 4, 5 days a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks off. You're taking one day, maybe two, and then you're right back to course correct. And it's about like, how
Yeah.
can you make those blips in the road not so crazy, and you kind of make this continual like improvement versus like riding this huge roller coaster of like motivation and then like nothing, and then you're just sad and depressed and upset or binge eating or whatever your thing is. um
Completely.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a good point. It's such a good point. Yeah. That's just why mindset's so powerful, and just getting the awareness around it and just starting to think about what you can do to better it, I think is amazing and just all anyone can ask for.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about your family, your mom and dad in particular being like, really, really strong supporters of like positive self-talk, image. I'm picking up on like a lot of those things from you, and I think that's really cool. And I'm curious, like, what do you think about like the people you surround yourself with, like the community that you're in, whether that's, an in-person or online community, like how important are those people to you and the type of people that they are? Do you have an opinion on that?
So important. I was actually just talking about this the other day with like the owner of the gym that I rent out of. And we both agree, yeah, like who you surround yourself with can either drain you or elevate you, is what I always say. And it's so funny because I feel like when I feel drained in life, like I'm often surrounded by people that are like robbing it. Like I feel like, you are who you are, and it's definitely, you walk into situations, you're like, this doesn't feel right. I don't feel my best self, or don't feel supported or encouraged or inspired. So definitely. And it's not to blame others. It's totally on you and who you put yourself with, but it's just understanding, those moments. So very important, very important. I think that's why I got back into personal training at a gym, was because I love the online coaching community I had, but I want it in person. I love feeling that person to person connection. I love teaching group fitness where we can, make someone feel really good in a moment. And yeah, we see how it makes people more compliant, more consistent, more motivated, more driven. When you know that someone's like maybe waiting for you, or like, hey, where have you been, Jim? We haven't seen you in a while. Like that feels good. It feels good to have someone recognize you haven't been there for a moment. So definitely community is huge. Like if you are on a fitness journey right now and you aren't a part of a community, I like that's probably the first thing that I would suggest is find a gym, online community, whatever, your circumstances are, but find something. And there's people out there who are very much in the same boat as you, and that we all know how good it feels to relate and to not feel alone. So find those people. As scary as it is, like yeah, it's just what's necessary. I mean, I even went to a run club the other day, and I was with my girlfriend, but we saw another girl walked in by herself, and I immediately was like, "Hey, how's it going?" Like we just started talking, and before we knew it, she was running with us. And because I just know what it feels like to walk into something alone, and I always want people to realize like that's wicked. Like come run with us. Like welcome them in because we know what it feels like. So yeah, community's big. It's important. It's where success lies, I think.
Yeah, and I think too for the people that are like scared to be in a gym space, right? It's like can be so comforting to have somebody else there with you in some sort of a group class or online community or
Mm-hmm.
whatever there to support you, right? Like you're like,
Totally.
I've had a couple clients come to me and they are like, I have to get like in shape before I go to the gym. I'm like, what? Like the whole point of going there is to do that
Yes,
thing. Like
totally.
it's welcome. It's a welcome place. If you're at one that does not feel welcoming, just change. I promise you, there's one
Yeah,
close. It's
totally.
2024. There's one
Don't give
close.
up.
Or I tell you what, you come with Maddie or I'll say put it out there right now. I'll give you a month for free, and we'll just
Totally.
talk about it.
Oh my
Like
gosh, yeah.
I don't think that there's anybody out there that would not want to try and help you live a happier and healthier life, especially the coaches that, I've seen, especially PTBI community and then beyond, like
Yeah.
other people that I've been able to, fortunate to be with. So yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree. And I heard this interesting piece from I'm in a mastermind with a fitness professional who's actually down in Scottsdale where we hung out and did a sweet little gym session. Maddie's also a killer in the gym, and she's got a sweet camera down there that helped capture the moment for us, which was great.
Yeah, it was
But
sick.
he says something really profound. It's like you can change the people around you, or you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. And it's like you can't change like, hey, like if let's say for example, like Maddie, if we didn't vibe and we're like, this isn't like something friendship or relationship that I would want to be around, like I can't change
Mhm.
you as a person, but I can change the
Mhm.
fact that I'm spending time with you. I can change the fact that
Totally.
I'm like around or present, and I can start to shift my social group and circle. Because at the end of the day, they say you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most, right? Like
Exactly. It's so
who's the
true.
5 people around you, right? Like if you're the smartest
Yep.
person in the room who's always doing the best and whatnot, like you're probably in the wrong room, you know?
Totally. Well, you're not going to get challenged anymore.
Totally.
Right? It's like snowboarding. Like I always, I mean, as much as I hated it, I loved being with people faster than me because I remember how much I would just be like, I gotta go because I don't want to make them wait. Like, so you're just like going for it just to keep up. And then before you know it, you're just getting better because you're putting yourself into the experiences that you probably wouldn't have. So definitely that is 1,000% true. And they need to be, I would say, a little bit above you so you can, constantly just challenge yourself.
Yeah, I feel like in life and all those things, like if you're like 5 or 10% uncomfortable, you're probably doing something right, you know?
Exactly. Chase the challenge is what I always say. Always say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, dude. Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer. We went for like 45 minutes, so I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. What I'll do is I'll drop your any like links you have down here, like below the show, and that way anybody who's listening can find you. I fully endorse, I'll say like my business, Maddie's business, she'll probably say the same thing too. It's like it may not be for everyone, but I will say like if I know, especially a female who's like wanting to get into hybrid training and wanting to be running and doing those things, and I'm not equipped to do said coaching, definitely sending them over to you and being like, hey, dude, this is a great person that I endorse the way that she speaks to people, the way that she trains. So fully expecting to see you continue to do well and take off, you know.
Thank you. Yes, I encourage it. I would love that. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I love chatting with you about this stuff.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, cool, dude. Well, let me know if you need anything else, and hopefully we can catch up soon.
Definitely. That sounds so good, Blaze.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. That was a
absolutely.
wonderful time.
Yeah, we'll see
Okay,
ya.
thanks. Okay, see you.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody, that is it for today's episode of the Blue Chip Athletic Club podcast. If you liked what you heard, give us a like, share this episode with a friend, and be ready. We'll be back most likely next week sometime. We'll either have a guest or I'll do a solo spot here. Give us a 5-star rating. It really means a lot. And we will see you guys next week. Later.